It is the 19th of July, 2019. I hope everyone has a great weekend. A few years back, there was a individual named Pat Hallett. He walks around Monterey and used to be a caddy out in Pebble Beach. Back in, I think it was like 2014 or something like that, I had a run-in with him. He had told some of the employees at a local coffee shop that I'd been videotaping them and that I'd posted them up on my YouTube channel. Well, when they told me that, I said, well, here's my YouTube channel, just go ahead and take a look at it. And I just sat there and drank my coffee, and they went through and they didn't see anything that disturbed them in any way, shape, or form. So the next day I came back and I handed them a copy of a news story from 2002, 2003, where Pat Hallett had been arrested for stalking an LPGA golfer. Apparently he had sent her about 30 letters. He'd sent her condoms. He sent her what he wanted on their wedding invitations. He showed up at her house in Florida. Somehow he managed to get out there. I don't know how. Pat used to come downtown and I talked to him when he was a little more coherent, back in, say, 99, 2000. And over a period of time of living on the street, he's deteriorated. In the news story, it stated by one of his family members, I believe it was his brother, that he was bipolar and he wasn't taking his medication. Well, shortly after I gave a copy of the news story about him being a stalker, and he actually made the ESPN top 10 or 15 sports stalkers. I think he was number 9 on that list. Anyways, the employees of this establishment let Pat know and showed him what I'd given him, and then he became irate, and every time he'd see me, he'd flip me off, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, people hate me, big deal. He would walk by the window outside and he'd, flip me off. I said, he's outside, I don't care, he's not doing anything in here, I'm not going to be bothered by him. So then one day he walked inside and he got like right in my face. I was sitting down, and I was sitting with my wife she wasn't my wife at the time. And he put his middle finger right up in my face. 6 inches away from me. So I stood up, feeling threatened, and I'm going to defend myself. So I get up and I grabbed a book that was on the table and I asked him if it was his, and before I could even say it, he punched me in the jaw. Lucky for me, there was a camera right up over here to the side, but so it caught everything on video, which didn't come into effect until a day later after the police had showed up and they were going to arrest me for, leaving him a bloody mess and, so on and so forth. So anyways, he punched me, I punched him, he punched me again in the ribs, and I think I put a knee in his head and left him a bloody mess. Fire showed up and I said, is he okay? So on and forth. Tried to drag him outside during the course of all this, but people that were looking the other way turned around at some point and they're like, oh yeah, we saw the big guy beating the guy up. And I said, well, they didn't see him punch me first, so of course now I'm the bad guy, even though my wife said, yeah, he came up, this is what he did. So basically, if I pressed charges, he was going to press charges, and we both would have gone to jail, and I didn't need a court case. Who does? For something stupid like this, for defending myself. So anyways, the next day the owner pulls the video up, they show it to the police, nothing ever happened. So a period of time goes by. Pat is in one of my other videos where he's calling, I believe he's an Iranian gentleman who walks around Monterey, who's probably in his 70s. He calls him terrorists and so forth in the video, and I just videotaped that and then I posted it up. Just a basis of, the continuation of his psychosis and, his anger issues. So then after that, I hadn't seen him in a long period of time. I stopped going into the coffee shop and just didn't want to be around the place. And it was the 4th of July. There was, not the 4th of July, actually up at City Hall, they were doing a thing about the leases on the wharf. And I showed up on, it was a rally and people were protesting, and I wanted to see what was going on and watch for myself. Well, Pat came storming up to me and, flipped me off and said some things. And there was a police officer right there, and the police officer went right after him, and he took off out the back way through City Hall. So anyways, just the continuation, he's anger, his anger issues. And the Iranian guy actually got into it with him one time and threw him out in the street, which I thought was pretty impressive because he's an older guy. He's a tall guy, but he's an older guy. So this is the most recent. A friend of mine is sitting in the coffee shop. Pat came in, he was talking about something, just blah, blah, blah out loud, and my friend said something to him, and then Pat threatened to stab him. And then Pat left, and he came back with an open knife in his hand. And if it hadn't been for one of the owners being there yelling at Pat may have stabbed my friend. And this guy is a Vietnam vet, and he's a boisterous guy, but he's a good dude. And it's like, really? The guy now comes out with a knife? Well, I've been following the arrest logs to see if the city of Monterey's done anything. I told my friend what Pat's last name was because he didn't know. He said he was going to give that information to Monterey PD, which I believe he probably did. And then he went on vacation for a couple weeks. I haven't seen him recently. But I have not yet seen that Pat has been arrested by the city of Monterey. There's no booking record of him, he didn't actually assault anybody, but brandishing a weapon, I believe, is a crime. And, making threats, etc., etc. So I'm just documenting this because if the city continues to let people like Pat Hallett walk around on the street, it's only going to get worse. It's only gotten worse in the last 20 years since I first met him. Peace out.